You know, it's almost like your birthday with a package from China, so let's go. So in the jungle there is so much you can pick up. And the S905X3 come also in many different form factors. And I mean like when you're looking at the main board, or better said the Android box. But these were like something different. I really love it what they're doing over here. They're modifying the boxes, making them better. In the beginning when I'm making these videos, I was like complaining extremely about this problem that we're having. That we did have the problem that these things were getting really hot. And they made a solution for it. And that is also why I really love these boxes. But what are the difference and why should you think about getting one? So compared with all the other versions, this is just completely modified. And I think the price you're paying for it, it's a complete kit. Think about you're going to get yourself the box itself modified with the fan, and you're going to get some chemical PlayStation 2 controllers. You don't need to really be happy about them, but again, yeah, they're usable. But inside the box we're going to get ourselves the special Super Console X Max Plus. Crap, did I open it on the wrong side? Yep, I did. Wait a moment. Ah, there he is. And with these boxes we can just do some freaking awesome things when it comes to playing retro games. Here you can see that we have two different cases, and the reason I wanted to make this video, because this is in my opinion the best box you can get if you want to get yourself the best performance for your money. Because these are not the most powerful boxes, no, because the most powerful one will come with a price like freaking magic, and that's the thing that I really love about these things. But of course you can always grab a random S905X3 Android box, slap Emulation on it, and you will have a game box for a lot less than this. But again, you're paying for something that is more ready to go. Another thing is kind of funny, I didn't made a video about it yet, but I know there are kits out there that you can modify your original boxes. Yeah, it's not going to be super easy because you need to do some soldering, what you can see over here. Because these boxes are modified, so the voltage need to come from one of the USB ports 5 volts. They even use some hot glue. Very nice. I think they did an amazing job over here. And the same story is applying to this. Here you can see we do have a completely different PCB, but it is more depending what kind of mainboard they are using. But let's talk about the specs and what makes this thing so cool compared with other versions. So this thing is called the Super Console X Max Plus 2. I also like to refer this thing to the X3 Supreme, because this thing is something new. They did use old technology like always, because these are budget boxes. We're going to get better Emulation support, and of course our typical PlayStation 2 knockoff controllers. Okay, so this is the quite confusing part. When I was ordering a couple of these boxes myself, I noticed there are so many different versions, and let's say the marketplace is a little bit of a mess. But what are we going to get with the connections? We're also going to talk about the power, but this thing is completely better than the other models reviewed. Think about the Super Console X Max Edition, because this is the Plus. It comes with more power and it comes with a nice display at the front and better cooling. But okay, so what are we going to get with the connections? At the left side we're going to get 2 USB ports, one 2.0 and one 3.0. But it depends how you want to connect everything, how many players you're going to play. Because if you're going to play alone and you just want to use Wi-Fi, 2 USB ports will be more than enough. We're going to get ourselves a separate dongle for the Wi-Fi capabilities. I don't like the 2 ports because, yep, if you want to play with 4 players, you're having a problem, because we need to have the USB hub. And the USB hub, this thing what you're going to get is a freaky piece of flimsy chemical plastic, and it's the cheap. I will not even recommend using it. So that is something you need to replace and get a better one. Okay, here we're going to get 2 times audio jack out. What I understand, the AV out doesn't work. RG45, HDMI out, and optical out. But the biggest bummer is that we don't get an on and off switch. So at the top we're going to get a very nice LED RGB fan, and this fan is quite silent. I'm going to put the microphone up front of the fan itself. You can just barely hear it now. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a nerdy time with Wicked. So we're going to get basically an X96 Max Plus 2. This is basically the board they are reusing for this. Board type is the Franklin, comes with a quad-core Gore-Tex A55 running on 1908 MHz, G31 for the GPU, RAM 4GB, storage 32GB internally, and they're going to get 256GB with the SD card. There is also a 64 and a 128GB edition. The Emulation version is 4.3 and the Android edition is 9.0. Okay, so we already talked about the specification, but I just want to give you a look with either 64. So you're going to get the x86 Max Plus 2. Here you can see like the board is Franklin, 4GB of RAM. So they don't really lying when saying on the product page. So the specification wise, I think it's similar to the Super Console X, if I'm saying it correctly, the Max Edition, because they are reusing the same kind of hardware. So the G31, the Mali, the GPU is not super bad at all. So, well, I think what is quite interesting to show you is that the Android version is actually 9 Pi. So when you're looking at the previous model of the Super Console X versions, they're also using this old school 4. Another thing is quite interesting is the thermals. It's just putting on idle, but to give you like a quick overview, here you can see like it goes around 30 Celsius, and with the normal Super Console X we were hitting up to 50, up to 60 Celsius sometimes. So the CPU cooling is absolutely way better with this casing. We're going to get ourselves the game system and all the necessary stuff. So what you're going to get is the game system itself. We do have a remote, because if you unplug the freaking, let's say, SD card, we do have the option to use like an Android box. Here we have going to have the power supply that is a 5V 2A, and it even comes with the on and off switch. And the funny thing is, like with the previous like systems, we didn't have an on and off switch, so they figured let's put it in the power supply. So a very good solution. And then we do have like the HDMI cable. But let's take a close look at the system itself. But what do I mean with the game changer? To begin with, like, this box is absolutely improved in many different ways. For the people familiar to the channel, the Super Console X lineup is a kind of a mess. It's a jungle, like the Pandora's box jungle. We have so many devices, but this thing brings something new to the table, especially when it comes to the casing itself. Okay, so this is the brand new version we have reviewed in the last years. We have reviewed all kinds of Super Console game boxes, but this thing is completely new. The shape is very nice. We do have like a black and translucent and like an ice color that's like semi like translucent. I really love like this thing, how it looks. It comes in a very nice fan at the top, like the previous one that have been soldered straight into the mainboard over here. They even use some hot glue, so when it comes to the teardown in this video, it's not necessary, of course. Alright, so let's take a close look at the specifications. So this is the brand Chingo, the HNX3 type. So then we do have the chipset as the S905X3. So I've seen it before in previous boxes. It's basically in quad core. RAM comes with 4GB, storage capacity 32GB, and of course we're having like different SD cards I talked about before. And of course we have Android 9 and Emulation 4.4. But okay, so let's talk about the menu and the software itself. What can we actually play on this, and what makes this thing such a great value and price balance? So when you're looking at the menu, there's nothing much change when you're looking at the older models. Of course, I'm running on newer Emulation versions, so that's a first of like a big plus. Besides that, we do have like so much stuff we can play now. So with the old version, we did have like the same things, problems with N64, but it doesn't been changed with the S905X3 or these models. We do have like slightly better performance, and overall like it's still a mix. Same goes for PlayStation Portable. But when you're going to get into Sega Dreamcast, there we have like slightly better performance. We even have like new options. Think about Sega Saturn, but of course Sega Saturn is going to be like a mixed performance too. Later on I will show you what I mean. Okay, so let's take a close look at Sega Saturn first, because this is the new addition to the Super Console X series. And yeah, when you're looking at the Emulation, it's a pretty cool piece of software, and the Yaba Sensiro, I almost know for sure that it's running on this. But when you're looking at the box, it's just not powerful enough to run the three-dimensional games. And what I'm noticing is that it will have some hiccups here and there. But when you're looking at like other games, two-dimensional games, there we're going to get a good performance with Sega Saturn. It's the same story that we had with the previous models. Two-dimensional games are less demanding and will have like better performance when it comes to more demanding systems. And N64, how about that? It's quite simple. N64 will always be a mixed performance when it comes to low powered boxes. But with the X3, now we're going to get slightly better performance because the CPU is clocked higher, and this emulator works better on this. But don't get me wrong, like the more demanding will still have a lot of problems. Think about GoldenEye. Alright, so that's not a good start. Where are my buttons? Oh, there they are. Okay, when progressing in the game, it will get a little bit better, but... So that makes me wonder, like, are they just using the wrong settings for this game, like a wrong emulator, or what's going on with this? Because you can, like, it runs now just fine. Next up, let's jump into PlayStation Portable. So one thing is for sure, is like these boxes cannot run God of War or the really demanding games. But I'm curious like how and what we're going to get. So we are running now at, let's see, 30 FPS. So this thing is able to run some casual games. But it will notice here, you can see like when there's a lot of action going on, it dips back to the 20. So some two-dimensional games run just okay, but that's the main problem with these tiny game boxes. They are fun to play some PlayStation Portable games, but it's just too demanding. We need to have at least like a mini PC. And with mini PCs you can even like push them to, let's say, higher resolutions. I would not be surprised that this box even has some frame skipping enabled, that it even like doesn't run otherwise. The conclusion is very simple. This is one of the best boxes you can get in 2022 when it comes to performance, cooling and the thing you can do with it. Of course, this thing is a little bit more powerful than the previous one, and if you want to have like better performance for Sega Dreamcast and you just want like better performance, or for let's say some other devices, yeah, N64 will still run like shit. That's the same thing like with PlayStation Portable. We have some games that are playable, but mixed performance is something you will have with these cheap boxes. I think particularly what you're going to get with this minor bump, you pay a little bit more money. You can choose a fancy case if you want to have like a square one or you want to have like a different form factor. Doesn't even matter. This is what you're going to get. Let me know in the comments what do you think of this. Would you consider this the best one for your money, or do you prefer to have another one? Thanks for watching. It would be great to see you in the next video. So consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and it would be great to see you in the next video.